Let's freaking go. LSU fans, you know how I feel about practice reports. I don't think they are too big of a deal, but I am going to tell you a few takeaways from what has transpired at LSU's practice. Someone that's actually been there will join us at 6:30. That is none other than friend of the show, Preston Guy. But to me, the big story actually came down the wire just a few moments ago when Brian Kelly spoke with the media after, well, LSU did a very good community service event. They do this every year. They go to the the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank. And here's what BK had to say about LSU's best wide receiver.
Yes, he has information from the surgery that he had previously, and we wanted to slow down. He had a great summer, and so he was able to handle a lot of volume. But I think all that residual effect gave him some inflammation. So we went back, re-MRI'd him, bone scanned him. Everything's clean. This is now just bringing him back slowly, and he'll be a guy that we evaluate his pitch count, if you will, and making sure that he's ready for every Saturday.
So what is your takeaway from that? Well, it's nothing serious. And I think that's actually a smart thing. So we did an Aaron Anderson deep dive actually, it wasn't this past Monday, but the Monday before. I appreciate all the love on that. I worked really hard. It was 45 minutes of just Aaron Anderson, the best, and a little bit of what he needs to work on. But one big takeaway at the end of the video was that of the LSU wide receivers that returned after a 700-yard season, every single one of them in the modern era ended up being a top 5 wide receiver on the team the next season. But it wasn't just top 5. It was a top 3 wide receiver on LSU's roster the very next season. And oftentimes, those players were leading LSU in receiving. The only thing that would hold back any of those receivers would be injury. So what do we know about Aaron Anderson? Well, this is very big. He did in Alabama have lower body problems, right? It was mostly his knee. So he does have some injury history. And when he played so many snaps, caught so many high leverage plays, took hits, all those different things, you want to closely monitor what's actually going on with him, right? So Aaron Anderson, it looks as if he's going to be okay. I've been worried sick about this. And I understand that a lot of us would feel, hey, if we didn't have Aaron for whatever reason, we have plenty of wide receivers in the stable that we could go to. Y'all, that might be true, but you can't replicate production that easily. And you also, and by production, I mean returning production from the same team, you also at the same time, and I think this is very important, you cannot and will not have an LSU team that is in a spot where you are on 3rd and medium. Who are you going to go to? Well, you could say Chris Hilton, and Chris Hilton, I think, is going to have a fine season. You could say Trey'Dez Green, but the guy that LSU went to repeatedly was Aaron Anderson or Mason Taylor. So I'm really excited for Aaron Anderson this next season. And, of course, it is very important that you look at some of these other receivers as well. We mentioned Trey'Dez Green. We mentioned a few other names. But the guy that I want to get into next, is Nick Anderson. Alexander Taylor says Nick Anderson has finally made his... Oh, Sissy was in here? Yeah. I didn't know my dog is at my ankles. Nick Anderson has finally made a splash, says Alexander. Yes, he has had a very good week. In particular, recently, he has had a better couple of days at practice. Now, I will say this until I'm blue in the face. I was not there. I'll tell you where I was this past weekend in just a moment. Well, I'll go ahead and say it now. Shreveport Card Show. I appreciate everyone that showed up, came to my booth. It was so much fun. But it is important to note if Aaron Anderson is not practicing, that means other players get those reps, which is a good and a bad thing. The good part of that is when other players get those reps, what that means is that they can get better. They can work up this chemistry with Garrett Nussmeier. But there's an inverse of that as well, that when Aaron comes back, he's going to be a starter. He's going to command a pretty big target share. So a lot of these guys that you might be talking yourself into might not be as good as you might think going into next year. There's only a finite amount of targets. Now, one big takeaway from the Aaron Anderson deep dive is that there is not a quarterback that you want to play with more when it comes to just raw throws than Garrett Nussmeier, who doesn't run, doesn't take a lot of sacks. He should do more of both this next season. I do think he'll get sacked more, which could in some ways be a good thing, but it's mostly a bad thing. And I do think he'll just scramble more, but still, he's going to throw the football a lot. We're still going to be a heavy throw rate, positive PROE team, pass rate over expectation. But at the same time, there's only a finite amount of targets. I will say, though, even though this Nick Anderson slowly ramping him up going into the season, and it may seem over the past couple of weeks I've been a little skeptical of Nick Anderson, that does not mean I don't think he's good. I just think for me, it's important for us to manage our expectations as far as who can really have an explosive, amazing season. Because ultimately, maximum 3 guys will have that 40 to 50 plus catch, 600 to maybe 1,000-yard season in this offense, especially if you think a guy like Kaden Durham is going to do something. All right. Now, since we have Preston coming up, who's going to give us more of the actual practice reports, it is important to point out that not only has there been 11 on 11s, there's also been these one-on-one pass rush drills. And the guy that continues to look great in the media portions of practice and just throughout practice is Bernard Gooden. Brian Kelly mentioned him a little bit earlier today. And obviously, Gooden fits the bill of a couple of these other defensive linemen who have come into LSU and provided them some very good reps. Bernard Gooden is going to be a good player, even though he is a tad undersized for an SEC defensive tackle. So I think Bernard Gooden is a guy that you should move up your expectation list, if you will, as a player who will be a part of this LSU defensive tackle rotation. A lot of us know who Dominic McKinley is. A lot of us know who Ahmad Bro is. But I'm very excited to see what Bernard Gooden is going to do this next year. Okay? Now, next thing. And this is honestly pretty awesome. I want to talk just really quickly about the Shreveport Card Show thing. I really appreciate so many of you that came to the show. All right. For some reason, the software wouldn't let me upload all these photos. I worked on editing to put on here. So I won't put them up tonight. I might do it on Tuesday. But there was a guy named Andy who's been a big supporter of ours. He brought his family of 6 to the show, and he brought me this huge LSU treasure chest. It just couldn't fit in my car. But to everyone, I really do appreciate it. It's still really cool. Now, more on what a lot of you are here to talk about, or you want me to talk about as far as practice is concerned. Another thing that was relayed to me is at this point, Garrett Nussmeier looked amazing. I believe he was 11 of 12 yesterday, and the ball is barely touching the ground, which is good. That means obviously Garrett is throwing the football really accurately. And at the same time, our guys are catching the football. Drops can be a problem. But one thing that's also fascinating to me is LSU offensively was a really poor team when it comes to penalties. It has been a massive, massive problem. LSU on offense playing clean football. And what was interesting is Dave Bartu, Preston, and I had a conversation on Twitter about this recently, and that needs to be cleaned up. And the reason I say that is because the first game of the season is going to arguably be a top 5 most hostile environment we will ever see LSU play in. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see LSU play in the stadium of one of the best college football programs of the past couple of decades. So if you are a team that is penalized quite a bit, LSU does this in practice, but I, in particular, would ramp up just getting everyone lined up and snapping the football and getting everybody on the same page. And one little thing that I would do is I would tell Garrett going into this game, be very careful of checking at the line of scrimmage. Be very careful. I would do a lot of, hey, let's just go up there and run a play. Because penalties are going to happen. I don't mind false starts here and there. I really don't. In particular, going up against this defensive line. But you want to limit those the best you possibly can. And I do think as far as practice is concerned, LSU really needs to hammer that home. I mean, really needs to hammer that home. Now, let's get to as many of your comments as we possibly can. Look, I personally am starting to talk myself into changing my prediction that Clemson is going to win this game. Could it be that Jack Pyburn was on our show on Tuesday? Might be, because he got a lot of you fired up. Got me fired up. Got the world fired up for LSU tackle football. Now, so hi to Jamie. Let's go to Brian. Alexander wants to talk more Nick Anderson. We could do that. Brian says, I get LSU has elite weapons, a Heisman caliber quarterback, and a whole lot of confidence. If they cannot run the ball and stop the run, they'll lose the same way that they lost to Florida State. Mick, Randy, Samuel is just a little knee cleanup. No big deal. Let's go to Alexander. They said Weston Davis has looked good. The only question mark is Josh Thompson. He was supposed to be the sure thing. Okay. I will touch on this. All right. I'm very lucky that some people in Josh's inner circle has become a fan of what we are doing. Really like that. Okay. I'm also really excited that Josh is here and he chose LSU over all the other schools. With that said, it has been tough for him, right? That doesn't mean it's going to be bad during the season, but it has been tough. And what is a tad bit concerning about that is many people consider defensive tackle to not be one of LSU's strengths. Another thing I would say as far as the LSU defensive tackle room is concerned is I do feel this room might be a little bit better than what we think, right? Especially if you have heard all this Dominic McKinley steam. It has been ridiculous, right? Pyburn really got a lot of people going with what he had to say about Dominic McKinley. A lot. So, for me, that does excite me. It really does. But at the same time, we saw what the LSU defensive tackle room was. It was a concern going into the season. I think it was maybe a little bit better than what we thought, but it still wasn't great. So you really need a few guys to step up and be those guys. But I say all of that because, if you're struggling against what we have on the interior, Clemson has got some dudes led by Peter Woods. And the nose tackle, who is more of the Siaki Ika type of build, the Tyler Shelvin kind of build. He's kind of a gap stuffer. His name slips my mind, but he is on some NFL draft boards. You have got to be careful with the middle of this offensive line. So I am concerned. I would be, based on what I've heard as far as Josh struggling in practice. I also will say, though, this unit did not practice this way in the spring. There might have been a few reps with this juncture, with this group of 5 offensive linemen. But at the same time, give Josh some grace, right? I have heard that it has looked a little better on some snaps. But I also don't like to get too carried away with the practice stuff. That's part of the reason why I am glad I don't go to practice, because, I don't want to get too carried away with practice reps, because I know how different it is than what you see in the game. Now, last thing that was a little bit of concern was that Whit Weeks sat out of one portion and like the beginning portion of practice, but didn't sit out of another. All right. Something I do want to share, it's a little bit different than when I was at LSU, obviously. They do things differently than how it used to be done. They have, and I hate to use this word because it is an NBA term. It's not the official term of what LSU does with some players in practice, which could be a little bit of what's going on with Aaron Anderson here. Load management, right? Those two words have ruined the second most popular sport in the world, which is basketball. All right, you hear that term all the time, load management. Well, in football, in particular in college, there is no load management. Now, there might be with expanded playoffs, but there really isn't. All right, every game still does matter quite a bit. But in practice, you need to load manage, because Whit Weeks can play, right? It might not even be a load manager thing. It might be, he needed his shoulder pads fixed or whatever. But, I just don't think for me, it's anything you need to be worried about. Brian Kelly did also say at the food bank earlier today that they are not worried about any type of serious injury with anyone. They said a few years ago they had 5 soft tissue injuries. Last year they had 3. Now, his words, not mine, they have 0. Okay. Let's go to Malik. He says, and everybody welcome Malik to the channel. I think I've seen you before. Malik, a really good LSU name. In fact, his back is on my head. Pause. If you're watching, you get it, because this painting is right behind me. Malik says, I hear that Clemson's depth is not good at all. So I'll say this, Malik. As many Clemson pods as I've listened to, previews I've watched and all of that, I can't tell you all of Clemson's too deep. I just cannot. I wish I could, but there's only so many hours in the day. What I can tell you, though, is as far as depth is concerned, it's not as important in season openers, especially considering a lot of season openers, you follow that up with a softer opponent the next week. As long as Clemson's first teamers don't suffer any big injuries, depth just isn't as important. Now, you want to know where depth matters? When you might be playing a team that might not even be as good as yours, it's Vanderbilt, right? Because Vanderbilt's going to have a bye week before they play you. You will have a bye week before South Carolina, and then you have to go to Vanderbilt the next week. And that's when you will have a couple of injuries. And yes, you will have only played one game after that bye, but at that juncture, your depth really matters, right? So a team like Vanderbilt, who you think is not as deep as LSU, which is true, they'll be fresh coming off a bye week. LSU won't be coming off a bye week. And that's why, whenever you look at like a schedule like this, that's the weirdest thing about season openers is that everybody is on the same playing field. Literally, there is no rest advantage. None at all. So you see right here, Vanderbilt, bye week before they play LSU. You have to go to Vanderbilt for an 11 a.m. game after playing South Carolina and running down Lenore Sellers all night at night. Okay? But you see, Clemson, there are no SEC teams that have a week 0. And Clemson also doesn't have a week 0. Okay? Now, let's talk about A.J. Halsey. We see a few A.J. Halsey questions. He has looked really good in these past couple of practices. Now, how has Halsey and Cooley looked? Okay. Let's talk about the safety room. What is interesting, and this honestly is very technical, and I hate doing technical stuff during lives. That's why we do film studies. But the thing that you are going to like about this version of the LSU defense is if the corners are as good as we think they are going to be, it will help LSU play more 3 linebacker sets, which is what they want to do. They want Harold Perkins on the field in that star nickel role. That's what they want. All right. So why is it important for corners on the outside to be able to play really good man-to-man coverage? Well, you could be a little bit more aggressive defensively. Also, at that same time, if you want Harold Perkins to stay in the box and you don't want him to be guarding a slot wide receiver, a guy like Tamarcus Cooley, let's just say he is on the field at one of the safeties, he can slide down and play the nickel on the slot, which is what he did almost exclusively last year at NC State. And you're comfortable. Now, you're going to have to play a lot of single high. All right? And single high does open you up for explosive plays down the field. But another thing that single high does, and by single high safety, that means that there's only one safety deep, and he's in the middle of the field. All right? Now, not smack dab middle in the field unless the ball is marked smack dab middle of the field, but he's lined up 10-ish yards directly in front of the center. All right? The good thing about playing single high, if you have corners on the outside that can lock up, is you can just be more aggressive, which is what Blake Baker wants to do. But because LSU didn't have the corner play that they wanted last year, outside of a few really, really, really elite Zy Alexander games, is that you couldn't get too exotic. And they still did, and then you saw what happened. So we'll see. Halsey is obviously battling with Jordan Gilbert. I think there's some separation with him and Deshaun Spears. But obviously the safeties that will play the most versus Clemson will be a variation of Tamarcus Cooley, A.J. Halsey, and Jordan Gilbert. Okay? So there you go. Getting a lot of questions about the card chart. I already talked about that a little bit earlier. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up, I promise. Okay? I'm very disappointed talking about it because I worked all day to edit these photos from everybody that came to the show. It's also so much fun that, people brought stuff to our table to give to the channel. It's awesome. I really do appreciate it. But I also appreciate people that were buying some of my collectibles. It's always fun, right? Some that were, I was a little sad to let go, if I'm being honest. I let go of one of my favorite Tyrann Mathieu autograph cards yesterday. Now, let's go to Bayou Soul. Appreciate you, man. All the love on Twitter. You've been commenting under all my videos. J Smacks, I appreciate the love on the SEC channel. You commented under the Arkansas videos as well. Okay. Something else as far as LSU's practice is concerned. is that the energy in practices has been off the freaking charts. You saw the energy, and I can't play the video because of the music. I mean, I still could, but you kind of need the music. Them dancing and doing a modern version of a Soul Train line, if you will, around the food bank. That's awesome. I will say that this team is very close. That is wild to me, because you would think the opposite, that a team that is full of a lot of transfers, a lot of one-year rentals, a real mercenary-ish type of class. You know, there was a really good story by Wilson Alexander of The Advocate who said, hey, this is the first LSU true mercenary class. That's not what his article said. But he did point out that all the college football playoff teams that have won natties, they had 9 or few transfers. LSU has 18. 18. That's a lot. That is a lot. That is a lot of transfers. So here's something else. And this will come off as a rant. But I really, really, really hope that our guys are like 22 Jack Pyburns out there. That they're fully locked in and ready to punch whoever the freak is in front of them in the mouth. And I do think mentality is going to be so big going into this game. This season opener has been the center of everything involving LSU, which I like and I don't like, because LSU, obviously, if you are any type of rational person, you know it's not the end of the world if LSU were to lose a season opening game. They, in fact, can lose another game and still comfortably make the college football playoff. In fact, on Patreon, and I probably shouldn't say this because, you know, it's Patreon, sign up, help us in many ways. I have LSU making the playoff at 9-3. I do. Our next guest actually brought up the opportunity, or that not opportunity. The chances of that happening are a little bit higher than you think, right? I think the SEC has worked really hard in letting people know that a team like SMU did a disservice to the sport of college football, getting into the playoff and losing the way that they did versus a Penn State team that couldn't complete a pass to a wide receiver in a college football playoff game, which is still a crazy sentence to write. But damn it, I'm so sick of LSU getting pushed around. I'm so sick of it. And I know a lot of you made the brought up Josh Thompson having a few struggles in practice. I don't give a damn about it, if I'm being serious, right? I really, really, really don't. Because when the lights are on, I just want bodies to be moved. I want chin straps to be freaking buckled. If we're going to be a counter team, I want us to be able to get some movement on the 3-tech and then get upfield and knock a linebacker in his mother effing mouth. I don't care that they have Sammy 5-star Brown at linebacker. I don't care. I don't give a damn. I don't care we're on the road. You want to set the freaking tone, baby? Run it right down their throats. Oh, we lost 4 out of 5 offensive linemen to the NFL draft. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? LSU lost its best corner ever, period. And they fielded the best secondary of all time the very next year. Don't you think Will Campbell is texting those offensive linemen in the room right now saying, y'all don't need me. Go out there and hit a damn mother effer in the mouth. I'm trying not to say the F word. I'm trying not to. Because it is the Lord's Day. But can we freaking do that? Get a run game going. All right, coming up next, Preston Guy. You do not want to miss it. His live streams kick back up pretty soon. You guys know how much I freaking love me some Preston Guy. And I also love fixing your golf swing. Are you missing that sweet swing? If pain is holding your golf game back, you must check out the full simulator at the Lafayette location of Laborde Therapy Center. Yes, Chase and his team built this simulator to go along with a full set of programs catered to your needs. Yes, this entire team at Laborde Therapy worked hard to fix that back, your elbow, shoulders, wrists, knees, toes. It doesn't matter. At their Lafayette location, 337-981-4053. Call today. But what if you don't golf? And what if you don't live in Lafayette? No problem. They fix anything therapy related. Book today, labordetherapy.com, with locations in Carencro, Youngsville, Morgan City, and Crowley. Labordetherapy.com. LABORDE therapy.com. Let's go. Shout out to Zion Imaging as well, located in Shreveport. We have partners all throughout the state, and this man covers LSU football from back to front like none other. Your boots on the ground, Preston, Saturday at practice. What was your major takeaway?
There certainly seems to be a different attitude with this football team. They have a lot of confidence and chemistry with these guys. And I think that this is the deepest and most talented top to bottom. I don't mean the top is the most talented, because let's temper this and say that, 2 years ago, there were 4 first-round picks playing on offense. However, I think the fact that there were 4 first-round picks playing on offense and you went 9-3 is pretty damning for your other 18 starters in terms of their talent level. I believe that this is the best 22 Brian Kelly will have had, and it certainly is the best 44 Brian Kelly has had. Yeah, in terms of looking at depth of this team. And I think the players know that. I think it's pretty obvious to them that this is a different kind of room than that's been around during Brian Kelly's tenure. So that was a major takeaway, probably more so than what I saw out there. I think we saw 9 total passes in 11-on-11, so I try not to overreact. But if you want to talk about on the field, the biggest takeaway, is it not surprising enough to tell you that Nussmeier is a stud out there?
Yeah.
Especially on 7-on-7, man, when you don't have to worry about getting a pursuit after you. Nussmeier's an absolute stud out there. But I think that's kind of like a no-duh take at this point. Is that a little too mild for you?
No. Here's the thing, and as you know, I don't go to practices.
Right.
People like you and other media members, and even someone I know that works for the team and is there every day, they're reiterating, hey, don't just take too much away from any practice, right? Do you feel the same way? Because I heard you say,
oh, for sure.
Okay.
I have gone and told people, my favorite thing is there are people who like to go out there with hot takes after one practice.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little too overreactionary. It's a little too hot takey for my tastes. Teams have bad days of practice. And frankly, this first week, one of the things Brian Kelly's beating on his chest is he has no soft tissue injuries. Now,
yes.
Aaron Anderson did have a little procedure, and he's been out. And, I'll say this, the biggest on-the-field surprise has been Destyn Hill.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Well, he's come in. He's wearing number 2. Not only has he found himself in a starting role in Aaron Anderson's slot receiver role, but he's looked really good. And a lot of people expected him to come in and be not a serious contributor. But it's looking like he's going to provide some quality depth for this team. And he doesn't look like a guy who's just filling in for a starter and, oh, man, well, I can't wait to get Aaron Anderson back. This guy's a slouch. No, he's solid. And, he's keeping a guy like Jelani Watkins on the bench, who's possibly the fastest football player in America.
Here's my thing about Destyn Hill. That's the very bull case, is that you could see he had a higher recruiting ranking than some absolute dogs, right? He was a higher ranked recruit than Keon Coleman, second round pick, higher ranked recruit than Jack Besh, also a recent second round pick, essentially a second round pick. Like, that's something, right? And he had the same exact recruiting ranking as you could see here of that Malik Neighbors guy. He's kind of good at tackle football. So, for him to be that highly ranked of a recruit in that class, I mean, he had to have had something as a player and with all the talent that he has.
Yeah, he didn't show up on the collegiate level yet. I mean, his stats I don't even have his stats pulled up. Maybe you've looked at him recently, but there's just like nothing there to suggest that he would be prepared to immediately contribute to this receiver room. But he looks, there's definitely something there. There's definitely some talent. Yeah, to be ranked above a guy like Keon Coleman right next to Malik Neighbors. Although, Malik Neighbors for a long time during his process was criminally underrated. I think he was 3 stars, still bitter. He was committed to Mississippi State because Ogeron didn't want him, it took a while for the Malik Neighbors hype train to get off and roll. In fact, I remember, radio shows, sometimes they ask me, who's your under the radar guy? And I was like, well, this guy, Malik Neighbors, because nobody knew how to say his name back then. But,
right.
He was under the radar for sure. But, Destyn Hill right there. Yeah, it means something. There's definitely something to tell you that there's some talent there. It just has not transpired in the collegiate level, and there's really not much film to really go and nitpick him. But that's a guy to watch out for. He could contribute to you, particularly if this Aaron Anderson injury is prolonged whatsoever and he's not 100%. Now, they do expect him to be out there next week. So, regardless, good quality slot receiver depth for you.
All right, so I'm gonna let Preston get on his soapbox about a subject that he is the expert on, the most passionate, because we did get a comment here. Well, Sage Ryan shows that the rankings don't. Y'all are gonna get him riled up. Y'all are gonna get him riled up, baby. Y'all are gonna get him riled up.
All right. So here's the deal. Stars. If you look at the data, stars 100% matter. They always will matter. I tell you what, okay? If you think stars don't matter, let's roll the die, look at a team with 3-star average player, and let's line them up against the 5-star average player. And let's see who wins more football games, okay? Go look at history. Go look at your national champions. Go look at every single data point available. And people will point out, oh, man, these 5-stars, man, only half of them got drafted in the NFL. You completely missed the mark on that. That doesn't mean nothing. All right, your average 3-star has a 1.8% chance of getting drafted. 1.8% chance. What do you want? What is a better odd to get a good player contributing to a championship? The guy who's got a 50-50 chance of getting drafted in the NFL, or the guy who's got a 1? I'm no mathematician, but that sounds a lot to me like 28 flipping times more likely. Okay, go with the numbers every time, guys. Stars aren't. Here's the thing. Stars. It's not that stars don't matter. It's just stars aren't the only thing that matters. There's other things that matter. So if the expression was stars aren't the only thing that matters, I'd be like, yeah, brother, I'm right there with you. Coaching, fit, discipline, development. Hell yeah. But if you're going to sit here and say stars don't matter, they mean nothing. I'll tell you what, go look at the Georgia Bulldogs roster and tell me how many 2-star players are out there, carrying the team. No, brother, Alabama and Georgia, you know what their dominance is built on? Blue chip 5-star players. I mean, seriously.
I will say, as someone who has amped up a bunch of Georgia content on my SEC channel, they do like, and Georgia fans agree with you, but they do have a point that some of their best players are guys like Ladd McConkey and Stetson Bennett. But your point still remains the same. I just don't want the because Georgia fans will say we developed 3-stars better than any. I was like, well, I guess so. I mean, Ladd McConkey's got to survive going up against some of these 4 and 5 stars every day in practice.
Well, look, here's the deal. There's in every set of data, there's outliers exist. Okay. The problem is most people look at an outlier and think that that's the new normal. Like the rule doesn't exist anymore because there was an outlier. You know why most data they actually go with the median over the mean? Because there's somewhere along the line that there's enough outliers to really skew the data and not give you the true answer of what you're looking for. Same kind of things. Outliers exist. They will exist in everything. But if you actually look what's going on here, again, 28 times more likely to be an NFL player. Right. You know what, bro? Give me the 5-star. I'll take my chances, okay? I mean, I'll take a chance on a Ryan Perrilloux that busts versus, a Chris Garrett.
But he bust because of things that were outside of. I mean, because things that are outside of the evaluator's control.
Well, let's also talk about this. Let's also talk about this. What a star rating actually is. It is an evaluation of his prospect to go into college. There's almost no high school players day one you're evaluating and say day one, this guy's a starter at major Power 5 programs. You have to develop. Okay. Yeah. Players develop differently. And sometimes a guy who's projected to build out and develop one way doesn't. And sometimes a guy just is a late spring. It's never meant to be a perfect science, of course.
Right.
And to predict how good someone is 3 years later it's a bit of a rough standard to hold them to.
Yeah, and we'll get back to LSU stuff, but 904 Drew does have a retort. I will say, as far as Kevin Tolliver was concerned, he was good. I mean, he just wasn't like Greedy Williams. Yeah, like Greedy Williams as a 3-star was better than Kevin Tolliver as a 5-star, but Kevin Tolliver was still good. I mean, he still played in the league for a few years. He wasn't elite though. Like Terrace Marshall was a 5-star, elite player. Jamar Chase was a lower ranked recruit, but he was still top 100, right? That's what the star rating does. And to the point that I was making about Destyn Hill and his star rating is that it is something in the wildest position we may have ever seen in a single state, which is wide receiver in the state of Louisiana. For that recruiting class, 2021, the fact that Destyn Hill's name was in that list of wide receivers is some kind of signal. That was our only point. That was it.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
You give me 5, you're going to give me quoting off data left and right here, man. Again, and look, he brings up Kevin Tolliver, okay? Again, I already conceded there's 50% of 5-stars who don't get drafted. That's a high margin and certainly leaves room for interpretation that, well, hey, look, they're missing on 50-50 of these guys, but still it's an odds game. There is no star rated player that has a better chance than not of getting drafted.
So Preston, you know me fairly well. Like on lives in particular, I don't like talking high school recruiting. I just don't. Because, I mean, we're so close to actual football, and we have, like, literally one of the best season openers LSU will ever have in program history coming up in a few days. A national championship rematch and all of it. But I sat down and watched Deuce Gerald's for the first time, and I didn't really sit and watch him until Friday night. And I could not quit watching. I could not quit watching this guy.
Stud, man.
I mean, dude, I know Scarborough does a lot of your recruiting stuff at Tiger Bait. Your thoughts on his commitment?
I mean, here's the deal. LSU already had a stacked defensive line class. Adding him to the mix, I mean, we're talking about. I mean, you watch his film. I mean, it speaks for himself. He plays much larger than his size, and he plays with good technique and leverage too, which, by the way, is something a little underrated with defensive tackles. Anytime I look at a defensive tackle and he's making the kind of news, the noise that Deuce Gerald is making, okay, and he's look, there you go. There's his height, weight. What is it? 6'1", 268. He's a smaller guy. Okay, D tackle, D end, whatever you want to play him at the next level. You get what I'm saying? Anytime he's making the kind of noise and he's not this big, mammoth, monstrous player, right? There's so many – it's such a weird position to recruit, at the high school level because there are so many guys who go out there. Chris Davenport, for example, big, massive, hulking human being, hard to block. But here's the problem. When you get to college, as soon as he lines up against another massive, hulking human being on Alabama's offensive line or whoever, insert SEC player here, you start to realize he's not actually that great of a football player. He was just dominating smaller human beings, right?
Yeah.
This is not a guy who's in that case. He plays with good technique and leverage. He's got a high motor, and you know, he will be a good factor. I mean, he's a top 100 player for a reason, but all of a sudden, take a peek at LSU's defensive line class. You had him. You already had Trenton Henderson in the equation, who is a 5-star according to some. Okay. You have Lamar Brown, who's a 5-star according to everyone. Okay. Richard Anderson, who I think he's consensus top 50, pretty high up there, and he's actually on pace to be a 5-star on 3 Rivals, I guess is what it is now. A lot of just really, really highly rated guys, and then that's before you mention quality depth guys like DeAnthony Lafayette. I mean, this and Darius McKinley, who you just pulled into,
just committed,
younger brother of Dominic McKinley, who I think is more of a developmental prospect. I have some good close ties to Acadiana. And he's not a bad player. Don't get me wrong. It's not what I'm saying about Darius McKinley. But he needs some time to grow into his frame. He's a little lanky. Yeah, he's 6'3", 270. You know, he's not quite as physically developed as his brother was at this age, but he's still a quality player in your home state and area. There's no one in the country with a better defensive line class than LSU right now. There's plenty of reasons to be excited about what LSU's got coming in.
Right now, just based on all these players and their high school tapes that I've watched, and once again, it's just their junior tape, and I don't like just sit and just grind it out, if you will. Deuce Gerald to me is the second best player in this class behind Lamar Brown. That's
based
how
on
good,
the tape. Based on the tape, right? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, he's a tape player for sure.
Yes, I since Whit Weeks, I have not watched a player's high school tape.
That defensive lineman or player?
No, just period. That was
better than Tristan. You think he's better than Tristan Keys?
Yeah, I think he's a better high school football player right now. Yeah. I that's how high I am on Deuce, and I like Tristan Keys a lot. Like that's not an insult to him at all. I'm just saying as a football player, but there's two sides to it, right? Because there's a difference in you being a really good football player and you also being a projectable athlete. And that's the thing with Gerald's is he's kind of a tweener, right?
Yes.
Like he's not, which is ironic. I find it ironic that he commits the week that people are starting to figure out that Bernard Gooden is actually like good.
Yeah, he's doing very well. Yeah, he is.
Because they would have to win in very similar ways. Gooden weighed in at 268.
Yeah.
Gerald's weighs in at 268, right? They're kind of this.
I didn't realize Gooden was that light. I never.
And what's funny is that's what LSU listed him as. So that's not his USF weight, right? So there's just some guys that have it. There's just some guys that have juice, and Deuce has the freaking juice, man. Yeah. And and once again, there is a difference in you being a recruit and a special athlete, if you will, because some guys are like Jadeveon Clowney was insanely productive and also like the top 1% tier athlete, right? That's what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
Gerald's is as productive as Jadeveon Clowney just by the raw numbers, right? His raw numbers are insane. His rushing numbers are them handing the football to him as a running back is really good. It's just he's not that level of an athlete. But that's a weird thing is that he is insanely athletic, if that makes sense. It's just
let me ask this.
The whole thing. Yeah, go ahead.
If we're talking about a 6'4", 310 guy, okay, what do you think that star rating is?
Oh, he'd be a 5-star. Yeah.
This is 5-star film that you're looking at with Deuce Gerald's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put a star rating on his measurables, but his measurables are not 5 stars. We all know that. 6'1", 268, right? It's not a 5-star frame, but you're getting a good football player. And look, I like that a lot of times. Now, there are a lot of good football players who don't necessarily in the high school level who don't translate because of measurables or whatever. But I think he will translate. I think he'll be a pretty good player. I think this defensive line class for LSU is going to be problematic. It's going to be look, if it all pans out to the way it's projected right now, I mean, this is Georgia Bulldog-esque.
And I will say when I take a stand on a guy is I've not talked to Deuce. I just honestly watched him for the first time this past weekend, and I had to get up at 5 in the morning Saturday to drive to Shreveport, and I was like, man, I got to go to bed early. So I cut the Deuce Gerald's film study just to have it ready for when I was in Shreveport and the news broke. I'd stay up until 1 in the morning watching him. I started at 7 p.m. and I was like, what am I witnessing, man? So shout out to LSU for getting it done. And a lot of schools are after him.
Geographically, I think there's reason to. I haven't done a data study on this, but I'm sure someone probably has. But I think players who are from the South tend to project a little better coming to LSU than players away. I did do a study on how 5 stars from Louisiana do at LSU versus going elsewhere. And they do better at when they go to LSU than when they leave. And actually, I think it was a substantial bump, if I'm not mistaken, coming to LSU. But I tend to believe that, you know what, man, I'll take the kid from the deep South. And by the way, every player in this class, except for one, comes from the southeast footprint of the United States. From Florida, Mississippi, Louisiana, as we know, they're doing some really good work. With one exception, at Catholic High, of course, possibly two. They have a kid who's going to Stanford as well, who my buddy's their offensive line coach, and he swears LSU made a mistake, and he might be right. But all that to say, the only kid outside
who was it?
I'm trying to remember the kid's name. You can make me pull him up now, but he's an offensive their left tackle.
Okay, pull him up. I'm gonna go ahead and answer this super chat from Brian.
1 second, yeah.
Star ratings are especially demonstrated within the trenches and at linebacker. True, yes, that was a key to SEC dominance. Wide receivers and DBs don't matter as much. I actually do agree with that final portion. Outside of this last wide receiver class, which looks like On 3 and 247 got it like directly on the nose, correct. But the Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams being the top 3 guys. Ryan Wingo was like the number 4 or 5 guy. So they did the damn thing at wide receiver in the last class. But there you go.
All right, I do have them pulled up. Check this out. Let's see if this works.
Okay, yeah, I just got to put it up on the screen.
Yeah, there you go. Blaze Tomasi. Yeah.
Oh, Catholic High kid.
High kid. Yeah. No, I mean he's got the size, a little underweight, but a lot of offensive linemen are a little underweight. It's not a big deal. Anyways, I haven't seen him in person or anything, but my buddy Dylan, he swears he is a great player, and Stanford's got a good one coming.
Well, okay. All right. Do you want to know something crazy? You want to know the recruit that I think about nonstop, and nobody ever mentions it as being like an LSU miss. Are you familiar with Zach Tom?
Zach Tom. Let's see. Hold up.
Okay. So Zach Tom just signed a 4-year, $88 million year with the Packers.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I see
that. And he was an offensive tackle from Catholic High that was a 3-star, but he was way down. Mm-hmm. Way down.
Yeah.
But kid can move. I mean, he's fluid. And he has been a really, really good offensive. I think about him quite a bit. I didn't know a whole lot about Zach Tom, but damn, he's like ridiculously good.
It seems like there's a lot of diamonds in the rough in Louisiana football.
Oh, always.
I mean, it always seems like there's some guy that is going to make you regret not going for him. I mean, even like Justin Reed. Think about that. Like LSU was basically a non-factor for Justin Reed. They're like, we got Eric, we're good. We got the older brother, and they didn't really push for him. Well, he went to Stanford, wasn't a high recruit, and look what he balled out and did. I mean, it's just there's always someone you're going to miss. There's always some future NFL player who's 3-star out there. But the problem is he's you got to identify which one it is amongst a bunch of lumps of coal. There's a bunch of other guys who are, they might plan out and be serviceable players for someone, but, finding the NFL star amongst the the college contributor is a little difficult.
Now this is getting really nerdy. Okay, I like bringing up Zach Tom.
Yeah, no, that's woo.
But he went to Catholic High, so it was a 3-star Catholic High kid. So Blaze might be the next Zach Tom if LSU's not careful. He would have been nice to have it at LSU. But yes, individual 5 stars missed, but as a whole, you're going to land quite a few of them. A few more for you here, Sir Preston Guy. Getting back to actual football.
Yeah, let's talk about this actual football team. Huh?
Yeah. But I had to go on a Deuce Gerald's rant for someone that actually works for a major recruiting LSU site. For you, as far as Clemson is concerned, what is your biggest concern?
Defensive line versus LSU's offensive line. It's very plausible that Clemson has the best defensive line in the country. I think preseason you'd probably give it to them. But a lot of times, as you saw with LSU's offensive line, preseason projections don't always pan out. It's like a lot of projections don't pan out, but we pick on stars. Anyways, the offensive line, I think, for LSU has a potential to be a solid unit. I love the new unit that they're out there working. They've got, the Braylon Moore working at center. DJ Chester moved to left guard, which I didn't know till I spoke to Tyree Adams yesterday. He's been roommates with DJ Chester for 3 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and look, I played offensive tackle, and I'm going to tell you this, the chemistry and communication between your guard is huge. I mean, just the way you work off each other, the way you do little chips, and the fact that these dudes are that close with one another, they've lived with each other for 3 years, I don't think that's nothing. I don't. And I think DJ Chester is going to be more natural at guard. So you're going to, just by getting players in more natural positions, I think you're going to have a better unit there. Josh Thompson at right guard, and Weston Davis is, he's doing his thing at right tackle. And none of them have looked spectacular. None of them have been utterly dominant. But I think they have a chance to be average. But and I do think that is the key for this unit. You have to be average at run blocking and pass blocking. I don't think you need to go out there and just be, 2015 Alabama blocking the ball. But you do need to be – you cannot be a liability. You have to keep Nussmeier up, and you have to keep him honest with a running game. By the way, Durham looks really good too, by the way. Yeah, very good out there. So you've got some pieces, but you can't – if your offensive line is going to end up being a liability, like some people think it will be, I mean, it's going to be just so frustrating watching all this talent. You got Nussmeier, who's a stud, and you got maybe Barry and Brown's open on a streak, but Nussmeier got he gets sacked. You have to keep it. So, yes, that's my concern, is that offensive line versus Clemson's very talented defensive line. And frankly, the outside of that, just the whole first game jitters for LSU. LSU has looked bad in their first 5 games, very underprepared. And so you're going to take half a decade of just absolutely, dropping an egg in your opener, looking completely disorganized and clustered, and you're going to go on the road to one of the more hostile environments in college football against a veteran coach, Dabo Swinney. It does give me some nerve. I think of the games on your schedule, I think that'll be the most important to win. And I think that it'll be the hardest.
I know. You see, the reason why I like having you on is you love the nerdy stuff. I know I've used that word a few times, but you and I, we have obviously great chemistry, but you just love the deep cut stuff. Do you know Parker Fleming's Stats Award, the analytics?
Yes. You said I didn't. All right, Parker Fleming meant nothing, but Stats Award. I love that guy. Oh okay. My God.
I've tried to get him on here a few times, but he's a busy man apparently. He did do a study yesterday that showed that running back targets out of the backfield are such an underrated asset, and on a per target basis, they're more explosive than wide receiver targets, or more efficiently explosive if you design it right. And I just think, to me, one of my hotter takes is Kaden Durham as a receiver will be big for LSU this year. I go back to what was LSU intentional with offensively? Well, in a lot of beginning opening sequences, they were trying to throw the football to Kaden Durham. South Alabama early in that game, throw to Kaden Durham. Early in the game versus Texas A&M, throw the football to Kaden Durham. Early in the game versus Florida, first play versus Florida, they were trying to throw the football to Kaden Durham. Florida was ready for it. Aaron Anderson got open. So Kaden not only has gravity, the thing about the A&M play was that they also had that one covered, broke a ridiculous tackle, took it up the left sideline.
Yeah.
So I am just so high on 29, and I think, and I love Nuss and all of that. I just think by the end of the year, he's going to be the best offensive player on this team.
You think Durham will?
Yes, I really do think he's that good. And I'm really excited to see it. So is there a take offensively, defensively, special teams that over the past few weeks, whether it be at practice or just with all the deep research and studying that you do, is there anything that that just conjures up in your brain as far as the season is concerned?
Man, depth, man. That's one thing I look at. So, okay. I love it when you can roll out a third string defensive end and he looks like Dylan Carpenter.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was watching as they rotated teams in and out was, who was on the fours for offense, right? Now, obviously in that 4-team unit, you're mixing in some third team guys just so you can do it. But as Colin Hurley rolled out there with the fours, and you're looking at guys and like Jelani Watkins is out there, and it's like
crazy.
He is not polished, by the way. He is not a polished wide receiver. He still is not, and he's going to need some time to develop his route running and his ability to identify the ball in the air and catch it well. He needs some time. However, he looks like Trenton Holiday to me. I mean, you're talking about.
Wow.
He's 5'9". He runs a 10:01 100-meter dash. You can't tell me that that's not a guy who you can find a way to get him some space and go run, see ball run,
Yeah.
And I just, this is a very deep football team, particularly at positions like wide receiver and edge room, very deep. I'll go this on the concern. Okay. Man, when Nussmeier's not throwing the ball, this offense looks night and day different. I don't know that you have – I think you have 4 guys at quarterback, all right? But Juwan Johnson, we know he's kind of more of a tool, right? More of a utility guy at quarterback. Yeah. Oh, they're practicing him at running back as much as they are quarterback. But Michael Van Buren and Colin Hurley are a little closer than I might like for that to be. I would probably have liked a guy like Michael Van Buren to be more polished and more developed. And Nussmeier's head and shoulders above those two. So, if you want to talk about concern,
well, I'm glad. Well, no, keep going on that. Well, what is it? More Colin Hurley looks different, and he's looked a lot better than one would think after the serious accident that he had, or has Van Buren been a little underwhelming in your mind?
Colin Hurley looks like he picked up right where he left off. I don't want to over-exaggerate and overhype him, but he's a young redshirt freshman quarterback who has a lot of physical tools. As we all know, Colin Hurley is a weight room junkie. He's in good shape, and he's a disciplined young man, and he got right back out there. He doesn't look like he's recovering from a car wreck. He's fine, okay? He's not – I don't think he's going to go out there and beat out Nussmeier and win the Heisman, but he looks fine. And I think Michael Van Buren has struggled a little more than I expected him to. And I don't want to overreact, Carter, because frankly, we're talking about 7-on-7, and we're talking about 2 passes that he took in 11-on-11 drills. And he went 0 for 2 with an interception, and it was a pretty ugly interception. So let's not overreact. But based off the small sample size that I've seen, Nussmeier is the dude. And if anything happens to him, I think this team goes from a championship contender to middle of the road, 9-3 type team. I mean, they still have a lot of depth, but you're going from potentially the best quarterback in college football, or among the best. I don't think that's a hot take at all, to a game manager. And that changes the identity of this football team in a big way. Some guys are going to have to step up. And I wouldn't like that for this team. So yes, that's what fears is if Nussmeier gets hurt. And by the way, the individual drills, by the way, which I don't think you necessarily look at Nussmeier, you say this guy's just oozing with physical tools. I was really impressed at the accuracy drills that Nussmeier was doing. They have a little accuracy drill where you hit a ball in a little square box, and he hit it twice. It's like that's tough to do 25 yards out, hit a little 1 foot square box, and he did it twice. Guy's got some both physical tools, and he's got a lot of leadership intangibles, all that experience. I don't know that there's a quarterback I'd pick over Nussmeier for this.
There's not. I mean, it might be the guy for Clemson.
Could be.
I saw Aaron Murray say Sellers earlier, which is a very strong argument because Sellers versus Clemson was that Jaden.
But notice, I do want to point out the way I worded that for this team as well.
Yes,
that's another factor for this football team. Maybe the NFL will be a different conversation, but it's too early to have that conversation anyways. But I think they're looking really good at that spot as long as he stays healthy, man. And an offensive line that is a big question mark also makes me nervous with that conversation as well.
All right, let me give you a scorcher here, okay? And by the way, 904 Drew, you know I love you, bro. It's all of our little back and forth earlier. It's that's the point of it. This is an open forum kind of thing, right? But I do not, because everyone is saying like Garrett Nussmeier making the year 2 leap like Jaden and Joe Burrow. And I don't think he's going to be that good. I think it's near impossible to be as good as, I mean, they're arguably the 2 best college quarterbacks ever. If you want to get into it, right? They're individual seasons statistically, whatever.
Statistically speaking, yes, certainly among SEC quarterbacks.
And it's weird how much Cam Newton defending I've been doing this week on Twitter because people need to respect him a little bit more. I'm looking at you, Gilly the Kid.
I will say this: Cam Newton is the second best player I've ever seen play college football.
I would probably agree with that. I would.
I judge peaks higher than body of work. So
if
you want to go body of work, Tebow, okay. I mean, if you just want to tally off accomplishments, I don't think that works for college like it does pros, because typically in college, the better you are, you're going to go and peak and then move on to something bigger. Right. You know what I'm saying? So typically if you have this long sheet of tallies, it's because, well, you weren't actually all that great because you couldn't just bolt off and go to the NFL and go, first overall and make $10 million. There was something holding you back. And there was something holding Tebow back. It was that he wasn't a great pro prospect. So that's why it's like Burrow, Cam Newton. I think that's 1 and 2. And I don't know that Barry Sanders is also way up there. Again, another peak player. I'd probably put Barry Sanders number 3, but that's
right. Yeah. Especially if you just want to talk like modern era guys and you want to take our LSU bias out of it. Cam's got to be Cam's definitely up there for
I refuse to acknowledge guys who won the Heisman with 590 yards rushing. No, I'm not. We're not talking about that. I mean, no. If you played football in the 1940s, 50s, whatever, I don't care. Talk to some old head about it. I don't care.
All right. So I preface that with me saying that repeatedly, that I don't think Nuss will have as good of a year as Jaden or Joe. What I will say, though, is you can make a case that he's more valuable to their team's success than either one of those two. For this reason, okay, is I do think going back and rewatching all the games that I watch Garrett, and every single one of us has watched every game and repeated. This is the super diehard LSU football channel. I cannot stress how much of our offense was Garrett just finding a way to get it done. And when you are a team whose best offensive play and best offensive situation was 3rd and long, that was it.
Yeah. Low percentage passes on 3rd and long. Yeah, no doubt. Throw Aaron Anderson open on a post route. Yeah, he's not open, but throw him open. It's crazy.
LSU. That's why the offense worked. All right, just using simple logic. LSU was a low success rate team, which is a play to play measure of success, right?
It shows guts,
But
grittiness. There's something to like about it.
yes, and Dan Orlovsky tweeted out why he likes Garrett Nussmeier so much. The first thing he said was 3rd and 9 conversion rate. A guy that actually played the quarterback position knows how hard it is to live in 3rd and long. Aaron Anderson film study. It was all 3rd and long conversions. All right. So we then get into this next season. All right. I do think if you compare Mike Dimbrock and Steve Ensminger to hopefully an improved Joe Sloan, it's not close though. Like, it's not close. I think we can all agree that
those guys are better coordinators than
yes,
Sloan.
it's not, and Sloan could be. Sloan could be.
I think Sloan has an opportunity to develop into a great coach.
Yes,
based off of 1 year at LSU. Yes, no, it's not
but
close.
we've seen that age. The best offensive coordinators are older guys at the college level, and in the NFL, they're younger guys.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's crazy. You know how good Bobby Petrino was last year with Taylor freaking Green? They were the best explosive rate offense in the SEC last year.
Yeah, but a little bit of that had to do with just Taylor Green and what he brings to the table athletically.
Well, Taylor wasn't as it was a lot of Bobby. I do an Arkansas film study every week. Bobby still has his mother freaking fastball, man.
I'm just telling you, he's got the athleticism, and a lot of times these raw athletes. Here's it, Taylor Green. From what I've watched, I haven't done deep film studies, but decision making is questionable as all can be at sometimes. But I mean, my God, the guy's a phenomenal athlete, big arm and really really fast. So I think that's a recipe for explosive, but also explosive in the other direction. Sometimes dynamite implodes,
And I know this is going to get clipped into oblivion. That's okay, right?
That's okay.
But Garrett is not going to have as good of an offensive line as Jaden or Joe Burrow had for. It's just
that's not a hot take, though.
Yeah, that's not.
He had 4 guys drafted last year, and the other one won the Joe Moore Award.
And he doesn't. He's not going to have a good of receivers as either one of those.
Again, some of the best receiving cores of all time.
Right. So I do think Garrett is that freaking valuable. Now, Joe and Jaden were extremely freaking valuable, and they were better. And I don't think.
So I'm gonna disagree with your take, but can I add something to reinforce?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Yeah.
Look, who was Joe Burrow's backup? Would have been 3rd year Miles Brennan. 3rd year, he would have done just fine with that with that supporting cast. He probably would have gone 10-2, something like that.
Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth.
Right? Yeah. I mean, he wasn't perfect, but he clearly knew how to throw the football around. Miles Brennan would have been fine in 2019. And then look at Jaden Daniels back. It was Nussmeier. So, I would take Miles Brennan in that supporting cast and Michael Van Buren. And Nussmeier over Michael Van Buren, in my opinion, particularly what I've seen. I think Michael Van Buren's been a slight disappointment thus far on a very limited sample size. It's very possible that we see next practice and well, nope, we're fine. It was all just freaking out over 2 passes.
And before you push that, that was going to be my final point. Is I am worried about LSU.
Oh, you had that docked up already.
Yeah. Because I will say the Van Buren film was good. I watched all 22, and I watched just the typical broadcast stuff.
Yeah.
Ole Miss game, he did a lot of good things. Georgia game, he did a lot of good things. A lot of those things, in particular in the Georgia game, was in mop-up duty type of situations where the team felt comfortable in the game, which changes things. But I'm not in love, like you said, I'm not in love with LSU's backup situation right now. But yeah, go on ahead.
Yeah, no, not a great situation there. Now, I will say this: Michael Van Buren has some impressive film. Some of those throws were not easy throws he made last year. And that was one thing I really loved about these guys in the portal in general. They weren't necessarily like great stats guys, right? But they're guys with really strong film. I mean, look at Jack Pyburn, strong film guy. I think he had 44 tackles, something like that. That's not going to make you pop off paper, but you see the way he takes on blocks, lowers his shoulder. Oh man, I love a gritty, a lot of tough players too. By the way, Mansur Delane, his ability to tackle. I love a tackling corner, man. There's a few things, man, that I talk about in football that just get me hyped up. Give me a corner who can tackle an open field. When Patrick Peterson was a true freshman and he was out there, he wasn't the best cover corner, but when he could tackle in open field, I knew that kid was going to be special, man. Give me a wide receiver who's downfield blocking. Oh, man, I'm getting hyped up. Give me a running back who can catch out of the backfield, and make his black blocks and pass set. Those are the little things I look at. And there's a lot of guys. Give me a linebacker who takes on a block and makes the running back bust out to his teammate. That's the kind of film I just get real hyped up about in football, man. And you signed a lot of those guys making those kind of plays. That's what I like about this portal class. God, I love football, Carter.
Yeah, yeah. So Preston live on Mondays.
That's right, starting tomorrow. We're coming back.
TigerBait.com.
YouTube channel, yeah.
Yeah, I love talking LSU football with you. I know you have a family at home, and I know like your wife's probably like, why are you always going live with that?
I always make an exception for you, Carter. I'm like, all right, this is a good guy. I gotta do something for him. So I have gotten to the point where I'm a little busy to the point where like I can't do every podcast. I told myself I'd never be that guy, but not Carter Power Bryant. Carter Power Bryant.
I mean, you have to admit, I've never had a bad guest on PHL, but the guy that just has LSU football vibes is you. Like you put actual sweat equity into this. All right, because if you want a full hour long podcast, we can. Okay, all right. You want to know something nuts? I actually am glad that this brought it because I had prep questions for you all this week. So I set up at a card show yesterday in Shreveport. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. You want to know which QB I got asked the most about? Not named Garrett Nussmeier, as far as my inventory is concerned. I'm going to give you a gazillion. I'll give you 2 guesses as to who the quarterback was that I was asked about the most outside of my. I could have a Garrett Nussmeier collection.
Okay. So, and who were the people asking you the questions? Let me ask that. LSU fans directly?
Yeah, it was LSU because.
And it's all-time quarterbacks, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to give you this hint. He has not played pro football. All right, that's the only hint I'm going to give you. The NFL, okay?
Ever?
Yeah, he's not in the NFL because there's all kinds.
All right, but he was in the NFL.
And I'm gonna give you another hint. He might not have played a down yet of college football. This kid's already got cards out.
He's got cards out. Okay, all right. So it hasn't.
And I was set up in Shreveport.
Pop Houston.
Yes.
The kid's a stud, man.
People were asking me, do you have the Pop Houston cards?
LSU has an absolute just cluster at the quarterback position that I think might end up being solved by getting a 1-year veteran stud next year. Okay, dude, Colton Nussmeier, Pop Houston, and Elijah Haven. Dude, that's the best 3 dudes that LSU could probably. I think if any one of them were in the class, I think LSU could get every one of them if it was just the one. Problem is, you got 3, and most quarterbacks don't want another. You might get lucky and get 2, maybe, but Pop Houston is the best high school player in the state. Elijah Haven has the better college measurables, better NFL potential. But Pop Houston's the better player. Nice. Oh man, dude, he's so good.
And it goes full circle because we were saying the same thing about Deuce Gerald's earlier, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're just looking at production and how they are as high school football players, Deuce Gerald's would be a 5-star.
Yeah.
Peyton Houston would be the number 1 quarterback.
Oh, I like the kid too. Really, I talked to him. Good kid. Likable kid.
So there's guys that because I was in, I think it was because I was in Shreveport. I doubt if I was in Baton Rouge, I would have been asked. But I got asked by 3 different people, and obviously the other quarterback that everybody wants is Arch Manning cards, and nobody would sell or buy like a reasonable rate. I'm like, dear freaking Lord. I wanted to send an arch card to Sibley, who's like the biggest supporter of PHL, supports you, supports Blake. But I couldn't get an arch card at a decent price because he is so damn expensive. Like he's not like on like Burrow's or Jaden's price levels, but it's probably like it's more than like Baker Mayfield's cards, and he's like good, like very it's
here's the deal. Even if he doesn't turn out to be a great quarterback, it's still a novelty item. It's a man.
Yeah.
Like okay, I would imagine like if they had college cards back in the day, if you could find like a Cooper Manning card, that'd be pretty niche. Like you get, all right, you know, what's your card you love? Justin Jefferson wearing number 37.
No, all right. So I'm glad you brought it up. I actually didn't bring it with me. So like there's some PC items I won't take with me to shows unless someone DMs me and says, hey, do you? So it's his rookie autograph ticket, but he signed it Justin Jefferson 32, right? So it was a ticket from the Arkansas game where he had a rush for 4 yards. It was his college debut. And he signed it Justin Jefferson 32.
Yeah, right. But that's a niche item. So my point is worst comes to worst, it's a novelty item.
Yes.
It's not a low floor. I mean, or a high floor. Okay.
Right.
Well, okay, if he's the next Peyton Manning, great. You know, all right, cool. Yeah,
right.
Even if he's the next Eli Manning without Super Bowls, it's pretty good.
Go follow him, P Guy 77. I'm sorry for keeping you so long, but we'll talk soon, my friend.
You're good, man. Look, we got to start building my studio tomorrow. Contractors coming in.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. No. Right. So look. I'm having a baby. Okay. We got a little girl coming.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This is about to be the little boy's big boy room. You can see big boy dresser and some LSU gear there behind me. But anyways, I'm losing everything. I'm losing my whole studio to make this happen. So I got to build a new one. So we're building it on the house, and that breaks ground tomorrow. So we're going to be opting out of this room for a little bit, temporary studio. Sorry if y'all watch the show, you know it's usually a higher quality broadcast than what I'm doing here. But you know we'll make it work for a couple weeks, and hopefully we'll have it rock and roll. I'm excited about a new studio.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon, man.
All right, Carter. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
You see why Preston's one of my good. We've actually never met in person before, though, which is kind of strange, right? It is weird because, like, my favorite radio guest, he's in my top 5. I can't just say my absolute favorite. He was on here for the first time a few weeks ago, Michael Felder. I've never met him in person. We have done close to 75 radio segments, Michael Felder. Never met him in person. I would cry if I met him in person because it's always fun to actually meet these people in person. I've got to go meet Preston in person. Now, obviously, when we have a guest, I try to focus on the guest, but we take some of your comments. If you had a question for me, fire it in. If you want a super chat, we can go all night. It's Sunday. It's football season. What the hell are you waiting for? I meant this with all of my freaking heart. Meant it with all of my heart before Preston came on. It's time to quit messing around. Buckle your damn chin strap up and look at Peter Woods in the face and say, yeah, we saw you gave up a gajillion rushing yards to Jaden freaking Blue. And Jaden Blue is going to be a good player for the Cowboys, at least I think. But Kaden Durham is better than Jaden freaking Blue. Kaden Durham's the best running back in the SEC. Don't come at me with Jaden Ott, who had the lowest elusive rating of any running back per PFF data that had at least 150 carries last year. Don't come at me with Contravion Wisner. Don't come at me with Le'Veon Moss. The best running back in the SEC is number 29 for the LSU freaking Tigers. Tell your kids, tell your wives, tell your side chicks, and I'm telling you right now, husbands, side piece man, whatever floats your boat. Kaden Durham is coming. Number 29. It's going to be a movie. Just give him some blocking. Dear Lord. Throw it to him out of the backfield. Give 29 the damn pill, baby. Give him the pill. Give him the damn pill. Brian, you can't leave yet. Brian, you can't leave. Sibley's really high on LSU. He wasn't high on them going into last year. Do they flip Blaine Bradford? Yes. I thought it was something that he did tweet out something about the Deuce Gerald's commitment. Let's go to John. He said Colin is only 18, I believe. Why are they comparing him to a starter yet? Yeah, he is very young. So, yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny because Colin Hurley's workout partner has been a few times in Florida, Anthony Richardson of the Colts. And the same thing that they say about him, like how young he is, applies to Colin Hurley as well. How young and how much we don't know, right? So, yeah, I as far as what Preston said about Colin Hurley being closer to Michael Van Buren and there being a pretty sizable gap between Nuss and the other two, it's part of why I said what I said about Nuss being so valuable to this team. I'm really fired up tonight, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I can go until midnight tonight. I don't need to. I don't get tired. A famous philosopher, aka rapper, said that. I don't get tired. Let's go to Dark Narwin. I disagree that Nuss doesn't have the same talent at receiver that Burrow and Daniels had because we don't know until the season starts. You see, I'll save my comments as far as that is concerned because it comes off as me being a hater. But if I need to say that I don't think Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson, who I started the live stream with, jumping for joy that he's actually okay. I'm fine with those guys and Barry and Brown not being as good as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. All right. And not as good as Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., who, by the way, all go in the first round of every single fantasy draft that is out there. First round and a half of every fantasy draft that's out there. By the way, if you want to draft, go draft on Fast Draft right now. Use my promo code Carter for a deposit match bonus up to $50. By the way, if you're just now tuning in, remember, one of our big partners this year, our friends in Lafayette and the surrounding regions, Laborde Physical Therapy. It is time for you to put your health first. Doesn't matter how young or how old. They are really good at just fixing everything. But in particular, if you're older and you're trying to get that pickleball swing back, that golf swing back, they have specialized plans for you to get all of that back. And I know this might not be as important to some of you that they serve all face and all of that. But I do want to include that my partner in this was my closest brother in Christ when I was at college. All right. And I don't talk a whole lot about faith because I really do want every faith to be welcomed here. But I would guess a lot of you are Christian. When I was at LSU, I didn't go to high school in Louisiana. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. Thomas was my brother in Christ. He took me in, his friend John, and the Christian ministry. I needed that person, and Thomas was that, along with a few others, and we just reconnected through this. So, if any of you have ever felt, the love of Christ, and I've talked about my faith and what happened to me earlier this year, all that stuff. I would not have gotten through LSU without my brothers in Christ helping push me forward. But I'm going to get off that soapbox. William, thank you for your super chat in North Carolina. Petey Pablo, come on and raise you. Okay. But yeah, 904, I don't make it I'm also very open. My best friend in college was Muslim, my absolute best friend, and he lives in Egypt now. So yeah, I'm open to all faiths, or if you don't believe in anything, that's fine. It's honestly fine. But yeah, but I'm never going to just like put that in your face. But I did need to say that because I did feel the love of Christ with Thomas. And there's another friend of his named John, and obviously you guys know I'm sound. Oh man, I'm sounding like the LSU players with the in particular Garrett, who's very Christian, or CJ Stroud or someone like that. We can go into the book of John. In fact, my favorite book of the Bible, when I used to read it more regularly, was 1 John. You're ready. 1 John, man, that'll get you. That'll get you right. That'll get you right. But I digress. Okay. Chase had 23 receptions and 325 yards in August training camp of 2019. Oh, okay. So okay. So yeah. So like, and it's all like one thing, right? It's like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson were raised by Joe Burrow and vice versa. Same thing with Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. I do think one like kind of underrated thing about those receivers compared to the receivers for LSU going into next year, I don't know, because like Aaron is such a different player than any of those four, right? Chris fits the profile of the guys that we mentioned. Aaron is such a pure like slot guy, and I know Justin played a whole lot of slot, and that actually is what hurt Justin Jefferson going into the NFL. Is when Justin was going into the league, a lot of the sharps were like, well, he was primarily a slot guy, and if you're drafting a first rounder, you want him to be able to line up on the outside. And boy, were they wrong. They said the same thing about Liam McConkey as well, and they were wrong about that too. So there you go. It's going to go hard or go home. What are your thoughts on utilizing Zavion Thomas in the backfield? He seemed like a natural runner in a few plays last season, but Sloan didn't do it very often. Yeah, let's talk about it. It's a good point. So, there is a lot of overlap in what Zavion did as a runner and his profile and the few carries that he got, and what Kaden Durham was as a runner, which is just twitchy, explosive, plant, fearless. They both process information really well. So I think you notice like Zavion, his two best like just handoffs from Nuss, one was versus a USC game, and one was the South Carolina game. And we really didn't see that the rest of the year. Well, what happened? Well, in that South Carolina game, Kaden broke out, and their skill sets overlapped. It's interesting because for me, as like when I graded all the Louisiana guys, I had a higher grade on Zavion than I did any skill position, and that included Aaron Anderson. And last year, Aaron proved me wrong. Aaron was the best wide receiver on LSU's team last year. And Zavion as a receiver had issues. But what he gives you is he does have a step of speed on Aaron. I think he's more powerful after the catch. I think he's got more juice. It's just Aaron is just a better receiver, right? He's quicker in and out of cuts. His spacing his spatial awareness is really, really, really good. Over the middle, he is near money, right? Where both of them can improve is because they're smaller. They do struggle bringing down more difficult types of grabs. So if both of them can get better at making the semi-difficult catch, that'll be a huge step in the right direction for both of them. But I do think Xavion's going to have a pretty nice size role getting the football out of the backfield for LSU. Now, why do I say that? Well, let's just say Harlem Berry in the first couple of weeks in the season is not ready to take carries at the Division I Power 4 level. And let's just say LSU doesn't quite trust Caleb Jackson. It is important to note that Juwan Johnson doesn't wear a red jersey. They're going to potentially use him as a running back next year. That does open up carries, right? And Xavion very well could take them. I still believe in Xavion's talent. I also commend Xavion for sticking around at LSU because he would have garnered a lot of interest in the portal. And he stuck around at LSU when things have actually gotten more crowded. So I give him a whole hell of a lot of credit for his competitiveness, for sticking around and being a gadget guy, which is what he's going to be. I don't think anybody expects him to be a 40-plus catch guy next year, but that is in his range of outcomes, right? He had a 40-plus catch season at Mississippi State with really bad quarterback play. Let's see here. Like I said, I can go live all night tonight. There's a bunch of subjects that I don't want to get to, that I want to save for live streams for the rest of the week. Bruni should be hopping on some point this next week from On 3. We like Bruni quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, our guests have been so good recently. Holy shnikes. It really started with Felder, and then obviously Blake always brings it. And then Jack Pyburn. Holy crap. Insane. Absolutely insane. I've never had so many people say that they were going to run through a brick wall like they did when talking about the Jack Pyburn interview. I thought all of you guys and gals that watched this stream, I thought you were turning into the Kool-Aid guy. How many times people were telling me you were going to run through a brick wall after listening to that Jack Pyburn interview? Holy crap. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. No, don't do that. Well, actually, you should do that, especially if you're in the Lafayette region, because you can then go to Laborde Physical Therapy and they can get you right. But yeah, shout out to Jack once again. Let's go to Sibley Super Chat. Can Nuss really run more this year? Yes, and I think he will. Don't players have a tendency to revert to things that make them comfortable? Should we just let Nuss do his thing and stop worrying about his running the ball? No, he's got to run more. I don't think it's a negotiable. And I think even he has said that as much in interviews. Now, why is that the case? Well, the truth is you have to run some as a quarterback in this day and age. Some. Okay? Unless you are in the tier 1 of pocket QBs, like if you're playing the game at Peyton or Drew's level. But even then, Drew Brees at 5'11" it had some rushing in terms of his ability to QB sneak. He is one of the best QB sneakers ever. He did that stupid thing, putting the ball over the goal line and then bringing it back. So there needs to be some aspects of you as a runner, or some aspect of you with your legs that gives defenses something that they have to worry about, right? Because Garrett as a play extender is fine, right? We saw that on the game-winning Ole Miss drive, the scramble drill to Mason Taylor. But play extension, Manzielian types of plays is not really his game. And I think that's part of why the turnovers have been, such an issue, is that in high school he was able to do that because he is so smart and creative. He was athletic enough to, get rid of rushers and all of that. his biggest mistake of his LSU career was the interception versus Texas A&M, where he had an open Xavion on the sideline, but he forced it to Aaron, throwing across his body. It's because, in a spot like that, a more athletic QB like obviously a Jaden, but a Joe would be able to get out of that spot, right? Or just do something else, avoid the disaster. So the game that I highly recommend everyone go watch as far as Nuss's mobility is concerned is the Florida game, where Florida's defensive line, as Andy Staples brought up, absolutely positively started mauling our offensive line. Some of that was on Garrett because they were giving him rush lanes and they weren't taking it. So why was it important for Garrett's legs to be used versus Florida? Well, we were missing the deep balls. We had a few Chris Hilton balls that we could have completed, but there were slight misfires. But what would happen is when those aren't working, what did Garrett do time and time again? Well, he completed very difficult anticipatory throws over the middle. So what Florida decided to do on some plays was just have their linebackers turn their bodies perpendicular to the line of scrimmage to pick up crossers. So it was nearly impossible. So if their linebackers have their back turned to the line of scrimmage and your offensive line is struggling, that means there's going to be some rush lanes available. And there were a few instances where there were rush lanes available. Now, Garrett's defense, as far as that Florida game is concerned, it was really hard to win that game with Caleb Banks lining up over, Paul Mabenga. It's just not a good matchup. The SEC's best defensive tackle going into next season, going up against one of our backup offensive linemen on the road. But yes, Garrett will run more. Now, designed rushes are a different thing. If you want to run more counter next year, design runs at a counter are very intricate, but they work really well. Florida State did some of that with Jordan Travis. So there you go. It's a really good super chat. Now, it's interesting because, Sibley, you're a Steve Sarkisian guy, right? Knowing what you do with the Texas Longhorns. Steve Sarkisian is the best play caller in college football. He's the best, right? Lane's up there. Petrino's up there. And I'm talking about offensive play caller. Defensive play caller, we can get into Phil Parker and all of that. But Steve Sarkisian's really good, okay? Quinn obviously doesn't run a whole lot. But Steve Sarkisian's in the 1% of play callers. He is in the 1% of the 1% of the play callers in college football. So he knows how to work around that. All right. One thing about, and if you're just now tuning in, you're not going to get this reference, but we brought up Parker at Stats of War. Texas was so much better at throwing to the running backs out of the backfield than every other team. Like, it wasn't even close. And that's what his study also found. Like, I brought that up plenty of times, not just in terms of receptions, but in terms of effectiveness. And Parker's study backed that up as well. So if Garrett doesn't run, I'm telling you, throwing to the running backs out of the backfield is such a cheat code if you know how to do it right. Okay. It's big. Now, if you have Jaden, it doesn't matter. Like, dual threat quarterbacks don't throw to the running backs out of the backfield this much. But pocket QBs do, right? So, once again, the connection that needs to be discussed more isn't Nuss to Hilton or Nuss to Anderson or Nuss to Green. It's Nuss to Durham. The LSU Monster. What's good? So here's the thing, LSU Monster. I was earlier. I think it was you. There were so many comments flying in. I think it was you earlier that said that you farted. And you kept saying it. Yeah, it might. Was it you? Just respond really quickly because I don't want to accuse you of something that you didn't say. Okay. And I was like getting ready to like mute you because I was like, I do think it's kind of funny if you just say it once. Like, okay, it's kind of random, breaks up the chat, all that stuff. But he said it again. He said, I farted. But nobody laughed. Nobody paid attention. And as an expert at bombing jokes, because I have bombed telling jokes more than any one of you will ever bomb at telling jokes. I guarantee you, I sucked at stand. Sucked. Bomb. I need to know if you really did fart or if that was you. Because there was a piece of me I think you did it while Preston was on. There was a piece of me that was concerned about your well-being. Because I've never seen you comment before. And you said, I'm farting uncontrollable. I thought you were having a fart spell that was uncontrollable. That I needed to call authorities. That I needed to call my friends at Laborde Therapy Center and say, hey, do you guys deal with farts? Which would be kind of a weird call to make to someone that just signed a partnership agreement. And they would say, Carter, we're ending all of it. I'm actually going to scroll up and see if it was you because you've gone quiet. The internet is permanent. We all got stuff on the internet that we probably don't want out there. Let me see. I'm gonna figure out. I'm not leaving. I understand I'm gonna lose viewers on this, but I've got to know if it was you or not. Jack. Okay. All right. You finally admitted it. You see, Jack's ready for me to move on. I'm pissing off the man that invented the cylindrical potato chip box or tube, if you will. Pissing him off. He said, Carter, the fun has stopped. We've already popped. The fun has stopped. Move the freak on. So finally you admitted it. So here's your attention that you wanted. I don't even have like the biggest platform in the world, but you wanted the attention. So I'm giving it to you as a first-time commenter. Let's see. What are we going to do here? That's not what I wanted. No. What the hell? That's not what I wanted. I don't want that. Let's do that. That's like Steelers gold, though. I don't know if I like that. No, I don't want blue. I want that. Okay. Don't want that. I want this. Now it's back to blue. Now, what the hell did they do to this? This is not smooth at all. Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. You got your photo a little bit bigger up here now. Look at you in the gym photo, man. First off, if you're going to take a gym pic, why do you have so much headspace here? Holy crap. If you feel great about those muscles, bro, freaking zoom the freak in. But no, you took this photo in a gym. I'm guessing it's a gym that looks like a freaking jail cell, right? Like, where is this gym? That looks like the gym that they filmed Remember the Titans in. And you're showing off dude, you're ripped. Okay, I give you that. But believe it or not, my fitness coach is actually in here right now. And he can actually like judge your appearance better than me. Samuel, tell me what you think of this. Samuel's in the chat right now. Sam was one of my fitness advisors. And if you want to link up with Samuel, I can get you a really good one-on-one consultation. So just DM me, powerhourlsu@gmail.com. Samuel helps with my diet, all that stuff. But I'm giving you your farting attention here. The LSU monster. And this isn't bullying him because you look ripped. I've lost a lot of weight. I go to the gym every day. I did that stupid rope exercise. I sent a video to Samuel. I did that. You know that Drew Brees actually made that pop. You know, you do the ropes. I did that recently. Okay, let's go Samuel here. Solid delts, most likely protein margins. Oh, man. But welcome to the channel, LSU Monster. I gave you your farting attention. There you go. 904 Drew was like, man, y'all. 904 Drew wanted me to get on somebody else because we flamed you for that Sage Ryan comment earlier. And I do agree, Sage Ryan was worse than an LSU Monster fart at DB. But holy hell. No, I'm gonna be honest. All right, before I get back into LSU stuff, since I'm on this tirade, I'm feeling great. I really need your support, right? I put a lot of money and time into a new YouTube project, and it flopped. It flopped. I uploaded the second video. It's got like 2 views. And what's funny was when I was doing research for this project, they said don't tell your main audience. And I don't have a big audience, but they said don't tell your main audience that you're doing something new because it's different. Like your main audience isn't going to like this type of content. So I put all this money into it, did a bunch of YouTube research, and memo to everyone, I am not the next Ryan Trahan. It was kind of videos like how he does, and if you're a super YouTube fan, you know who that is. But obviously I'm not as talented as he is. We both have wives named Haley, but that's the only like comparable things. So I tried to do it, and it sucked, right? Because I needed like some off-season project to work on. And if you are interested in that type of video, DM me. I'll send it to you. But they said don't share it with your audience, right? So I really need y'all's help this year. Like I wrote because this is what I want to do. The college football season, it's awesome. Okay. But they literally told me don't do it because they know you from football. And if they really liked it, the algorithm would show you what it is. So if you want to see it, I'll DM it to you. I'm not going to post it here though. And I spent months, 3 months. It was like, why are you doing this, dude? I wanted to see if it would work because I really enjoyed doing it. I thought the videos are great. Let's go to Samuel. Carter, how many mistakes does a cornerback get until DJ Pickett is starting? Yeah, so I wanted to bring up DJ Pickett to Preston, but we ran out of time. Or I could call Preston, tell him to come back on if he wants to talk DJ Pickett. DJ Pickett listed at 6'5", and I believe it. You know, I saw him at LSU versus whoever they played in the opening round of the NCAA basketball tournament. So I went to that game. Who was it? It was it was LSU versus like NC State or somebody like that. No, it wasn't NC State because they're good. Whoever they played in the opening round of the women's tournament that they beat down, it was a red team. I saw DJ Pickett there, and he walked by me, and I was like, there's no way he's 6'3". I honestly thought he was 6'6". I really did. I was like, wow. And I was not shocked at all that he was 6'5". If you ever stood next to DJ Pickett, you would be like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, there's photos that you can look up of him a year ago on recruiting visit at LSU standing next to Patrick Peterson. He is physically one of the most gifted LSU corners that has ever walked into the building. Now, the most gifted, most talented will always be Stingley or Peterson, right? But DJ Pickett is 6'5", a corner at 6'5". That does not happen. That does not happen. Jack says we need to pick it. We need to pick it ASAP. Stamps is a concern. One thing I will say about Stamps that I think would be interesting, and I've said it before on here, but someone who knows way more about ball, and I'm proud of my film study acumen and the film studies that we do. We had him on for the first time, Max Toscano. He's become one of my really good friends. Like, he's super sharp. Like, he's probably a top 5 non-player film analyst out there. Right? Like a guy like Chase Daniel or something like that's always going to be the best. But Max is just world class at doing it. He brought up earlier today that he thinks Ashton Stamps would be a good nickel. And I've brought that up before as well, because the natural transition of things is, if you were to ask most people that have actually played football and have actually played defensive back to order in levels of difficulty, what is the hardest thing to do? Of the 3 major defensive back positions, which is safety, outside corner, and inside corner, aka nickel, it is always going to be outside corner, then nickel, then safety. Or at the very least, it's always going to be outside corner is harder than inside corner or safety. Now, obviously, that depends on your offense. If I'm going up against the Patriots, if I'm the outside corner that's not on Randy Moss, and I'm not the inside corner on Wes Welker, that outside corner's job is easier than the nickel corner, right? So it's matchup dependent. But my thing is, Ashton Stamps has played the outside corner role for so long. That's the hardest thing to do. And he had some atrocious games last year. What if it is inside corner that is a specialty, right? Because inside corner, you can get away with a little less top-end speed if you're quick enough. If you know the game well enough, you can get away with it. Okay? So for me, I would like to look into that, right? Like, obviously, as we move closer to the season, we talked about it earlier. Stamps at nickel, we're going to play Harold Perkins at the star nickel role to start. We'll see. Let's go to Ramon. Everybody welcome Ramon Richardson. I love it. Love the name. How's the cornerback Jakeem Jackson from Florida looking? He has he's had really good practices. I'm serious. Like, it's actually been really good. So on Patreon, I'll be releasing all the high school player grades. So my final thoughts, I go through and watch as many huddle highlight reels, YouTube games, talk to as many people as I can to give my final grades on these players as prospects. Yeah, I'll just tell you that Carius Kern and DJ Pickett, to me, are the 2 clear-cut best players in this crop. And I probably will have Harlan Berry like number 3. But yeah, with this transfer class, I was like, okay, let me go through and watch all the transfer tapes, right? Pull up as many games I could find. And I was not enamored with Jakeem Jackson too much, right? But we only had 2 games last year and a few true freshman reps. And boy, if what I'm hearing and what I've seen via some of the public footage, Jakeem Jackson looks like a different dude. And sometimes in life, it's just a transfer that needs to happen for you to grow as a player. Corey Raymond is his coach. So Jakeem Jackson has definitely made some headway in this room. So I do think it's true that the 3 best corners on LSU's team, 3 best outside corners, are 3 guys that were not on the team last year. One is a true freshman, and the other 2 are first-year players. Okay. Now I'll go through rapid fire a few names, and we're going long tonight. I've told you all night we're going long. Y'all lock the freak in. If you don't want to lock in, just get the hell out. I'm just telling you, just get the hell out. I'm ready to lock the freak in. I will go live all the way until my 7:30 spot with Blake Ruffino tomorrow night. I don't give a damn. It's season. Y'all expect more out of me. I'm going to give it to you, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Get on my damn level. Lock the freak in. I don't think y'all are locked in. I don't think y'all are like, I mean, I had a great time yesterday in Shreveport. I had a great time. Lock the freak in. I'm tired of this bullshit, y'all. Lock in. Let's go to Grayland. They've been putting Delane at nickel in some packages. All right. Monsoor Delane is the best defensive back on this team. I'm not sure if there's anybody close. Like his actual tape at Virginia Tech is very good. All right. I found it a bit interesting that, to me, one of his tougher, if not his toughest game was the SEC season opener versus Vanderbilt last year. But, Monsoor Delane is just good. Like, he would have been drafted. He's just good. Now, I say that, and, LSU has been burned on some of these transfer corners, like Deuce Chestnut, right? He was good at Syracuse. He comes in. He goes back to Syracuse, and he had a good year last year. This is not that. He's really good. And sometimes, if you want to put him at nickel, and it has been the case, he has played some of that at practice. If you want to do that, you want to use him potentially as a blitzer, right? It adds a little extra disguise as well. Like, oh, they're putting their best corner as a nickel. They're definitely going to probably play man coverage and lock everything up. But next thing you know, they're sending them. Oh, Samuel, change it up. Oh, LSU Monster, you done messed up, bro. My fitness coach came in here and said, Carter, let me show these boys what I'm rocking with. Brambo was in here earlier. There he is. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Man. Me showing all these rip dudes on here. People be getting the weirdest vibes from this channel. Whatever, like I said earlier, whatever floats your boat, all that stuff. But y'all, dude, some of y'all are just freaking shredded. So good God. I want to look like you guys. And this is the most shredded chat. We got LSU Monster. And then we got Samuel. And dude, Brambo is shredded wheat. Holy hell, bro. Now I got to show off what I'm working with. LSU Monster, dude, come on. You're not on Brambo or Samuel's level. Bro, I can't let you slide. I let you slide with the fart and stuff. You're not on Brambo and Samuel's level. I'm sorry, bro. Sorry. Not with this freaking Shawshank Redemption photo here. Where did you take this thing? Next thing you know, you're going to have the left side, strong side, and Denzel walking in to give a Remember the Titans speech. That's where you shot this photo. What the hell? It's all up. LSU Monster is a good chance you're more ripped than everybody else watching this right now. But Samuel and Brambo are freaking shredded. They are freaking shredded wheat. Oh, you're larger now. Okay. Huh? Everybody welcome Layton to the channel. Layton, welcome. But you're not, so LSU Monster, what you have to do, I don't want to ask this because next thing you know, I'll be getting some freaking, Grindr is going to be sending me some partnership opportunities, and they're going to be like, dude, the YouTube algorithm told us you were showing a bunch of shirtless, ripped dudes on your stream. We are interested in an opportunity. Whatever, like I said, and I'm not saying anything, honestly. It's just, it is crazy. I didn't think that the live stream would get to this, but literally, I don't know Brambo. I know Samuel really well. Samuel's one of my best friends now. Samuel's on it. Like, he does the whole macros counting and stuff like that. But Layton, you get to pick the next topic. Go right on ahead, brother. And if you love the community, join our Discord. You can get or join our Patreon, patreon.com/LSU football. For $9.99 a month, you get all my extra film studies, podcasts. I posted my full SEC preview in Patreon, and I explained my methodology. That right now I have LSU as a 9-3 team and making the college football playoff. If you want all of that, go to patreon.com/LSU football. Look at Jordan. He said, I had to make sure I didn't accidentally log into an OnlyFans. I guarantee I lost some viewers showing ripped shirtless dudes, but it's just like a little photo. But then again, 90% of the players that we're covering look even better than Samuel and Brambo. Oh, man. Are you going to change your photo this season? Well, do what you want to do. Tell him, Samuel. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to get your fitness goals, hit me up. I can get you on a call with Samuel. He'll get you right. Okay, but only if you're serious. Only if you're serious about it. We can definitely get you in the right direction. So, personally, I'll share my journey. I was like 224 to start the year, and now I'm 197. All right. My high school playing weight was like 190. But yeah, you got to be about it. Now, the funny thing is, I'm still able, like yesterday, DJ Pizza, one of our super diehard loyal PHLers, every time I set up at a card show in Shreveport, DJ Pizza brings me boudin balls and boudin links and wings and all that kind of stuff. And Pizza's awesome guy. And obviously, you don't want to eat that stuff and all that. It's not great for you. But you can eat like that some of the time and still get fit. You don't have to eat like Brambo or Samuel to. You're probably not going to look like those, like Jack Pyburn, if you will. But it's not as hard as you think. It honestly comes down to your will and determination. Like, there are sacrifices that need to be made. I don't eat a meal until 11 a.m. every morning. Now, that is not recommended, but it works for me. Right. But it's honestly not for everybody. I just want you to know it is not for everybody. I'm not saying you should do this. My mother's a diabetic. She can't do that. Right. The guy that does all our graphics now, Dex, he's the one that cuts the open. He can't do that. He is a diabetic. You can't do that. Right. But that's why people like Samuel and can help you get to that point. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can link up. We can link up. I'm trying to go to the Florida game. It's probably not going to happen, but I do want to share something. I got a pretty sad message from earlier today, and it really does suck. So I'll go on a little rant, and it does regard LSU Clemson. So a lot of you know Jared Addison, and Jared Addison is if you want to make a list of like the most diehard PHLers, Jared Addison is got to be in the top 5. All right. At the very, very, very least. Obviously, LA Mom is in that and a few others. But Jared sent me a message earlier today, and I'm close enough with him to mention this. He, for weeks, had been telling me, not weeks, honestly over a year now, how excited he was to go to LSU versus Clemson. He's not going to get to go. The ticket prices are too ridiculous. They're too ridiculous. And I get it. A prominent player's parent told me he's not going. A very prominent player on this team told me he's not going. Okay. And they get tickets, obviously, but there's a lot of different reasons why, from what I've heard, LSU fans backing out of this trip. Jared thought that they had tickets, it fell through. And the thing about these tickets, and Graylin, we'll talk about Destyn Hill. And we talked about him for a while during Preston's thing, but I'll give my full thoughts on Hill here in a second. Like I said, y'all better lock in. I kind of want to go, where are we at? 2.5. I kind of want to get to 3. But it is what it is. All right. So, as I've gotten older, one area of expertise that I have gotten better at is scarcity, right? Everything in entertainment is scarcity, honestly. The more scarce something is, the more demand for that thing will be, right? I'm not a huge George Strait fan, but my first ever country concert was George Strait, basically on a farewell tour. It wasn't his farewell tour, but I got to see him play in Tiger Stadium, who many consider to be the best country artist of all time. All right. Now, to me, that's Garth Brooks, but whatever. That's scarce. It's never going to happen again. George Strait is never going to play in Tiger Stadium again. All right, so that's like tip of the iceberg scarce, right? But in sports, LSU versus Clemson in a home and home is more scarce than a World Cup. Now, it's not bigger than a World Cup, but this will not happen again in your lifetime unless it's a first-round playoff game. That's it. That's the only chance that could happen. And honestly, that is somewhat plausible. Let's just say Clemson does win. They trip up in the ACC and LSU trips up some. You could see a first-round rematch between those two, yeah. And that game be played in their fake Death Valley or Death Valley Junior or whatever. But not only do you have the scarcity of that, you have the scarcity of this being a season opener, both teams being 0-0, and the hype for both of these teams is at the highest it'll be. Right? One thing being in the football card market has taught me is the highest amount of money for a certain football card for everyone is right before the season begins, unless you're going nuclear during the season and your team is winning. You need both of those things to happen for you to be elite when it comes to your football card prices. But historically, after 4 weeks, everybody's football card prices go down. And it's like that in other sports as well. So part of why the ticket prices are so high is that the anticipation is so high. You truly don't know shit about either one of these teams. You know some things, but the overall picture, you don't know shit. LSU versus Clemson in 2019. If you were to ask me, hey, Carter, which game are you more excited about? LSU versus Clemson in 2019 or this game? I would tell you, in terms of me not knowing shit, it's this game. And what are the best movies? The ones that you don't know a whole lot about, right? I felt going into LSU Clemson so damn confident. It was one of the biggest bets I've ever made. LSU first half versus Clemson. LSU full game versus Clemson. Because I knew number 9 was going to find a way to get it done. And not only did he do it, number 1 did, number 8 did, number 6 did. A lot of people stepped up. Ironically, we talk about single digits all the time. All our single-digit players that wore single-digit numbers that year played whales of football games versus Clemson, right? From Fulton all the way down. Even though Fulton got truck sticked by T. Higgins at one time. But still, everyone played great in that game. So, that's why some of these ticket prices are ridiculous. And Jared, who's successful, he's done. You guys have seen the Super Chats. He's not going to be able to go because it is a name your price situation. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Yes, quite a few of it did. And ironically, yeah, I moved some of it. But my super rare Tyrant cards, I didn't bring to the show because they're not going anywhere. Other than like my number 1 Tyrant card, I did tell Tylen Singleton if he's a first-round pick. I told him this on camera too. If he's a first-round pick, I would give it to him. But I do have my super rare Tyrants listed for such a high dollar amount on eBay. If someone wanted to buy it and change my immediate life, go for it. Because that's irresponsible to my wife and my dogs and actual family. Let's go to Grayland Super Chat. I appreciate your patience as I went on a rant. Thoughts on Destyn Hill? Yeah. So I talked about the recruiting ranking a little bit earlier. The Florida State situation is murky. Even the Florida State sources and stuff that I've developed over the past couple of years, they don't really say a whole lot about him other than they said that there are practices where he's looked really, really, really good, which is basically what everyone is saying right now. But I will also say Grayland has been higher on this team than most, and Grayland's one of our most even-keel commenters. He was also, like John Sibley, skeptical about this team going into last year, if I remember correctly. But I would be just a tad bit skeptical because, Aaron Anderson's not practicing. Something else about practice is, yes, there's a finite amount of reps, but not only are they not game reps, it's also like you can practice as many reps as you want, theoretically. Whereas in a game, it's just so different. It's just so different. Also, wide receivers tend to look the best in practice compared to how they look in the game. So, there you go. Now, do I think Destyn Hill could break out? Yeah, he had the same recruiting ranking to the number, essentially, as Malik Neighbors. Obviously, he's not that good, but he's got some talent. And he's in the athletic prime of his career, a year 5 collegiate, right? There's no bigger advantage physically for you as a football player than your year 5 year of collegiate football, outside of if you get a year 6 or year 7. So, But I didn't say all that to feel sorry for Jared, but it was just an example that I wanted to share. Because there's other PHLers looking for tickets. Even singles are hard to come by. So there you go. Chance, I wonder where you are tonight, Chance. What's the likelihood of flipping a quarterback commit this year? I don't know. All right, we do have to take a quick break because we are running long. I did have to help Haley move this thing. So, a quick word from our friends at Zion Imaging.
Let's go!
On a journey together with Zion Imaging, I want you to see this experience up close. And me as a wedding and event DJ, I watched how everybody had so much fun with Zion Imaging. And a big reason for their success is the team. Yes, Jaron Thomas and his family started this off as a passion project, and they have one simple goal in mind: taking your event to the next level. Whether it's a wedding, reunion, quinceañera, school, or corporate event, Zion Imaging is all about family-friendly fun. And I gotta show you on this tour the high-level technology that quickly sends your video session to your phone, whether it's iPhone or Android. Yes, it's the Zion Imaging 360 spin booth experience, serving North Texas, North Louisiana, South Arkansas, Orlando, and more. Give us a call, 318-469-4265. Check us out on Facebook or book us at Zion Imaging, XYANimaging.com. Are you a die-hard LSU fan? And would you like to understand the complex game of football better? Well, sign up today for our PHL Patreon. This is his second touchdown. Counter G while you're pulling the guard. We dive deep on recruiting and the transfer portal at a level that you have never seen before. Film breakdowns from so many different angles, and my personal favorites, oh yeah, the analytics, baby. I like to get nerdy. We take a look at cutting-edge statistics that help all of us understand LSU football even better. And guess what? Every new sign-up gets a Joe Burrow card in the mail for free. But we got to save the best for last. Our private Discord community of LSU fans from around the globe. Sign up today. Patreon.com/LSU football and put your name on our wall of patrons. Special thanks to everybody who's on here. Let's freaking go. Alrighty, so I said we'll go till the 3-hour mark. I don't think we're going to make it. There are some husband chores I have to go do. Yeah, Leighton, that's where I am. But my full explanation is on Patreon. So that's for patreon.com/LSU football. So yeah, go sign up. I'll put you in the Discord. And everybody that signs up, as you guys know, gets a Joe Burrow card in the mail for free. I start my Arkansas show back tomorrow on the SEC channel. I've gotten a few requests to do a Georgia show. I've been doing a lot of Georgia videos on the SEC channel. Y'all, hey, there he is, Pizza! Pizza! DJ Pizza. So I had a whole thing for DJ Pizza, and it wouldn't upload correctly. I was hoping you tune in. I could just show the photos here. There's Pizza. Like I said earlier, DJ Pizza bringing me the Bergeron Boudin balls yesterday. That's awesome. God, it was such a fun show. Sibley, are you going to Clemson? So what happens if LSU whips Clemson? Well, they would need to be number 2 team in the country behind whoever wins Texas, Ohio State, right? Because they will probably be the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. And yeah, now here's the thing. If Alabama blows Florida State out, it is what it is. But if LSU were to blow Clemson out, there wouldn't be a close elite team who was more impressive than LSU, right? So, yeah, and Clemson's better than Florida State. So, if you want to make that case, let's just say LSU does blow Clemson out, then LSU would need to be the number 1 team. If you want to factor in preseason rankings and resume, if you want to mesh the two. Now, and you guys know, I'm if you're to ever see me, like, I'm not like big bad talker, ready to throw blows, but dude, everything about college football now is becoming not just about money, but everything has just got to be so freaking bitch made, and I hate using that word, right? But it literally, well, Arizona State was picked to finish last. So in the Big 12, we're going to get rid of preseason rankings. Because you don't want to offend anybody? Really? Come on. Preseason rankings are good. They're really good. So I don't care they're inaccurate. I don't. And then every last college football debate is, well, the SEC, we can't go to 9 games because we're so much stronger than all these other conferences. True, but we're the SEC. Our phrase is, it just means more. Except when it comes to conference games. But everything, except for Brian Kelly and Scott Woodward, they said we won 9 conference games. I know I've made that point to them, blue in the face, but I like that. I like the fact that the 2 leaders of our institution, they are not baby back bitches. They say, give us an extra tough game. Now, tomorrow night, I want to do a transfer portal film study. So I will be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. re-releasing some of our transfer film studies from some of the players. Might mix in a few like practice reps that has been released to the public. But that should air tomorrow night around 6, okay? And then, obviously, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays will be live at 6 p.m. I'm working on getting a pretty big LSU media guest on here pretty soon. A guy I've always admired quite a bit. So we're going to try to get him on pretty soon as well. He said he wants to come on. It's just, sometimes you're competing, sometimes you're on at the same time. But I really do have a lot of respect for this guy. So we're working on that. I don't want to say anything because he's got to make sure it's okay. If he can do my show, all that stuff, he would be a first-time guest, and a lot of you would love him. So working on that. So there you go. All right. Sadly, we're not going to make it to the 3-hour mark, but we did get it to the 2:30 mark. A shout out all our top super chatters. Sibley takes home the top crown. That's pretty normal for John Sibley. Leighton, Graylin, William via Venmo in North Carolina. We got to get that barbecue, bud. All right. We will talk to you soon. Bruce, okay. I'll talk about this really quickly because I know you joined late. All right. So I've always shared that I think the next team that joins the SEC would be North Carolina. I've shared that so many times, like normally like late in a live stream like this. And dude, North Carolina and the SEC would be so epic. But I've always had media people and sources that I trust tell me that. Okay. They really can't join until 2030, though, unless there's literally some powerful things that happen. There's also an argument to be made that North Carolina shouldn't do that, but whatever. But I have shared that a few times, and there's a lot of different reasons as to why they would want that to happen. But I won't get too deep into that. If I were to want another SEC team to join, obviously I would probably pick Clemson because that would just add another really powerful team. But geographically, that also doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay? So, there you go. Let's go to Grayland, a follow-up. I agree with you on the 9 SEC games, but the CFP has to value strength of schedule. Yeah. I mean, if the SEC, that's part of it, is like if the SEC went to 9 conference games, then there really wouldn't be an argument for strength of schedule. The Big Ten would have no leg to stand on at all, especially when you have schools like Indiana who has a coach that talks a big game but can't really back it up. I went 11-1 in a season that Washington and Michigan had championship hangovers. Shut the hell up, Indiana. Randy, you always got to bring it, man. You always got to bring it, bro. But there you go. Special thanks to Zion Imaging, Fast Draft Fantasy, and most importantly, our new partners at Laborde Therapy. It's very important. If you want to be a partner for this upcoming season, now is the best time to do it. Reach out to me now. powerhourlsu@gmail.com, at powerhourlsu on Instagram or Twitter. I have another potential partnership call tomorrow, but even if we don't strike a deal, like personally, like I had a non-YouTube thing, a deal that would have made me some money actually fall apart at midnight last night. Right? So I was up at 5 a.m, Shreveport card show. A lot of things did not go the way this. And this was something non-YouTube, anything like that related. So even if it don't work out, I just want to talk to you about your business and maybe I can help you in many ways. But reach out. I do not bite, right? I'm always very honest about our audience, and once again, I am not Logan Paul or anyone. I'm not Josh Pate or any one of the big names that have a gazillion followers or anything, but I can help you. So reach out if you've always wanted to reach out, powerhourlsu@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on any social media platform at powerhourlsu. And as always, ask Ellie Mom, ask Skipper, ask Sam. The PHL Patreon is always lit. The Discord is always lit. Patreon.com/LSU football. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Big thanks to Preston Guy tonight. We are doing chicken enchiladas. Let's go.